Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We're excited to have one of our employees, Nick Anzano, presenting on the benefits of automating Business Central tools and techniques. And I know you're all eager to get started with the presentation. So before we begin, as a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share with anyone. And if you do have any questions during our presentation, please feel free to type them into the questions box, and we will answer them at the end of our session during our Q&A time. So now I'm going to kick it over to Nick to kick off our presentation.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Anzano, and I am a senior application consultant at Innovia. And today we're going to talk about automating Business Central. And this isn't really going to be a how-to nuts and bolts type of webinar. This is really going to look at what are the benefits that we can see by automating Business Central. So we're going to investigate the uses of automation to increase efficiency, streamline operations, eliminate manual dependencies, and basically that's personnel, and to provide timely business information that you can use in a strategic point of view. We're going to provide an overview of why and how to automate BC and thinking outside of the box with BC automation, things that you can do to help direct your business rather than just react to situations. So pilots use autopilots to fly and perform the mechanical operations of actually flying the plane, so that it frees them to look at the big picture. Are we still headed in the right direction? Are we sure that we're not flying into any bad weather? What's the fuel situation like? Are we running low? Automation with BC can provide you that same type of an autopilot. It can handle the mechanical and time-consuming operations that weigh down your staff, and it doesn't require someone to remember to run a process because it's going to do that automatically, and allows you to concentrate on more productive tasks. It allows you to stay in flying, we call it staying ahead of the plane by reducing the mechanical workload. That's what we're looking to do with the Business Central automation, is to help you stay ahead of the business and not just react to situations. So there are three major areas that we normally consider when we automate Business Central. First one is typically one of the largest, which is the integrations, and that's any transactions that are coming in from either e-commerce websites, 3PL warehouse fulfillment centers, or any other external system that is going to be feeding transactions to Business Central that need to be processed in Business Central. As well, we've got the outbound transactions to external systems, order tracking numbers for shipments, order status, going back to an e-commerce site. Then there's the actual Business Central operations themselves, setting up auto posting so that the system will post your sales orders, your sales invoices. And that's done with the job queue process. And also there are approval workflows. And the job queue process, we do actually have an excellent webinar, which is a really nuts and bolts on how to do it. That was done by one of our other consultants, Gino Peck. So if you're interested after you are through with this webinar to see what it actually takes to start with automation in BC, that would be a great webinar for you to take a look at. The last part of automation is the information. Automated alerts. If you're running, if stock is running low on an item, send the alert to, the purchasing agent, or possibly even the sales staff, so that they know that they can tell customers that, there might be a delay with a delivery for a particular item. And also for reports. Reports that I like to see automated are reports that are spelling out what we call exception reports, where there could be an issue and where somebody in management would need to actually, take some action. So integration tools, import-export mapping tools. Some of the actual tools are Smart Connect, Scribe actually now, which is owned by TIBCO, and there's a whole new set of web-based or cloud-based tools called Integration Platform as a Service. So if you are already on BC SaaS, software as a service, these integration platforms are now doing pretty much the same thing that Business Central is on the cloud. Well, they're providing integration services on the cloud. It used to be that they were mainly used for, on-premise installations. Of course, one of the big automation tools for integration that's been around for decades is EDI. There's also Business Central modifications and extensions that can be created, and those could perform, very specific operations to get information either to or from external systems, and then custom programs that are completely external to Business Central that would act as a bridge between those external systems and Business Central. So automation tools actually built in as part of the operations in Business Central is the job queue. It offloads manual repetitive processes. It allows posting of sales documents automatically. They can send external correspondence to customers once the documents have posted. It can provide alerts to staff, low inventory levels on items for sale, customers that are overdue on payment terms. And one of the newer pieces to the automation are the Power Apps and the Power Platform. And we do have a team that is sole purpose is to actually work with the new Power Platform. So that might be something else that you would want to inquire about as well. And then lastly, the automation for information. Again, you can use the job queue. Power BI is also another good tool. There are third-party Jet reports. If you happen to be an on-premise installation, there's also SQL Server reporting services, which is part of the database system. And then, of course, standalone programs that are written specifically to generate reports. More importantly, why automate Business Central? Staff has more time to be productive. If you're not worrying about, running a process and then waiting for the process to complete, like, posting a bunch of invoices, you've got the time to do other things. You can do more with less. maybe you won't need as large of a staff as your company begins to grow or grows larger than it is, because you're having that automation that's actually performing a lot of the operations that staff members would have to. Business Central never goes on a vacation. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, if someone is the one who always posts the invoice and they go on vacation, well, who's going to step in and take over that job in addition to their normal requirements? And automation doesn't forget to run reports or to post invoices or to send customer statements, or, invoices and order acknowledgments. You get a busy day, it gets near the end of the day, it's easy just to say, well, I can do this tomorrow, and then, before you know it, you're behind the curve. Items to automate. Definitely, if you're not automating posting transactions right now, it's something you should definitely take a look at. Customer invoices, vendor invoices, those are just real naturals to go in and get those set up in the job queue. Reports to internal users. That's, I think, probably one of the more important automations that we can have, because we can set parameters in a report so that they will automatically go out when those situations occur. Also, reports to external users, customer statements, order acknowledgments, invoices. I mean, those are all important things that typically the customers look for. Incoming transactions from other systems. Definitely, if you've got an e-commerce site, it's much better to have that flow from the e-commerce site automated than to go to the e-commerce site, look at the orders, then somebody either downloads a file or somebody rekeys the order from the e-commerce transactions. I actually had a client at one point that was doing that until they finally came to the realization that it was killing them and that they needed to really automate it. So, quick case study. Had a client that had a fairly large outside sales staff, and they would go to grocery stores, large chains, and they would work on an external system that was actually designed just for them. It would have all their items on it. It would have all of the customers' special pricing. They could override that pricing if they really wanted to, or if it was necessary to make the sale. And it would even give them an indication of approximately how much stock they had. So what they would do is, on their tablets, they would enter the orders and then click a button. It would talk to their outside system, and was actually a system that was a web cloud-based system that was hosted by someone else. From that point, what would happen is the information would then flow from that outside system into their database. And what we would do is we would pick up all of that information. We would go through any special pricing was verified by an algorithm that was developed for the system. And if there was authorization required for to override a normal price, it automatically got routed to an approver. That approver would then either approve or deny the change in the price. And if it was approved, the order would automatically be released or would be put on hold. If it was released, the pick ticket printed immediately to the warehouse. If the requested ship date was within 3 days of the time the order was taken, Otherwise, it would queue up and wait for 3 days. And then if there were any purchase requirements because there were large orders, they would automatically have a report sent to the purchasing department. Pretty much this all happened within maybe about 5 minutes of the salesperson clicking the button. The minute the order was confirmed and approved, the salesperson would get back into that system, a confirmation, where they could tell the customer, okay, order's been accepted, special pricing is good, and the customer would also receive an order acknowledgement either by email or snail mail, as however their communications requirements were set up. And after the orders were picked and shipped, the invoices were created automatically by the system, posted, and then emailed straight out to the customer. The company was doing about $200 million a year. They had 3 people on the inside sales department that were able to handle all of the transactions and all of the flow that went through, because literally the only thing that the staff had to worry about was if there was an exception. So that was a tremendous savings in personnel. It was, I'll be honest, a fairly expensive project, but when you look at what the owner figured, he would have needed about 3 to 4 more people to be able to handle this manually. It probably paid for itself in under a year. In fact, he was positive it was going to pay for itself in under a year. So that's a very good case study of automating from start to finish, and the savings that can really be realized in an operation. So case study 2. This was a company, or is a company, that manufactures custom stainless steel products for the restaurant industries. And there were 2 production lines that make separate types of parts, but they need to be coordinated for the order to come together. So when the orders are received, the confirmations are automatically sent out to the customers. And as production dates get updated on one of the 2 production line, or both actually production lines, the customer automatically gets notified of ship date changes. Internally, there are notifications that go out as well. If one production line needs to make a change to the ship date, then the other production line gets notified. And the customer only gets notified if the latest ship date, what they call the master ship date, is actually changed. According to the feedback that our client had gotten from their customers, is that one of the reasons why they liked dealing with our client was because they were constantly kept in the loop. And most of our client's customers were construction companies, where they were either going in and refurbishing a restaurant or a bar, or building a new restaurant or bar. So being able to know when they were going to expect those, the stainless steel parts that they needed would help the construction company actually with their scheduling. Oops. Sorry, we're backing up. Okay. So, case study number 3. Have another company that every week the system automatically runs a comparison by customer, by item, of the prior 2 year sales against the current sales. If there's a difference, and the differences decrease and it exceeds the threshold that was set up for that particular item and customer, sales team gets notified. What they use this for is they're in a very competitive industry and they're looking to see if one of their competitors is trying to poach one of their customers. By getting this report on a weekly basis, or those exceptions, they're actually able to stay ahead of any problem that they might be having with a customer and be able to open up a line of communication with the customer to see if there's anything that they can do to make sure that they keep the the customer and the sales. So I know that this was pretty quick, but in conclusion, automation is a powerful tool, and there are areas where you can use automation in BC to do things that really are just limited by your imagination and by what your company needs to do to see the big picture. One of the important things that I like to stress is automation is great and you can really go crazy with it, but always consider the return on investment when you're thinking about a very large automation project. It's not something that should be entered into half-heartedly or without much thought, because it will definitely change the way your organization operates. And also look for the small wins as well as the big wins. Again, one of the best things you can do to start with automation is to use the job queue and to get that posting happening automatically. It frees up a lot of time. It's something that I know that most users, aren't necessarily wild about having to wait for, especially if they're, large volume of transactions. And it's a nice small win, and it can be really helpful. Questions?
Thank you, Nick. It appears we don't have any questions for you today. Please feel free to contact us or your account manager, and we will be more than happy to address those questions with you. I just want to thank Nick for presenting, and for everyone on today's webinar, or if you are watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us. We do have new training workshops for you and your team members to attend. Visit our training workshop page at anovia.com/workshops for more information and to register for the training workshop that fits your role. Tomorrow we have a webinar from Dynamic Web, and they will be presenting on improving buyer experiences with e-commerce for manufacturers and wholesalers. And on Thursday, we have Galumo, who will be presenting on simplified forecasting and budgeting for any organization. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's anovia.com/events. And don't forget to check out our Anovia Conversation podcasts. Our hosts, Steve Waltz and Jeff Bergolski, have a library of podcasts that you can listen to. So check that out at anovia.com/podcast, and also subscribe so you'll get those new episodes. And fall is approaching, and that means conference time in our world. Check out our conference page, and that's anovia.com/conferences to learn more about the different conferences that we have and to get registered for them. All right, well, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another Anovia webinar. Take care, everyone.